Sorry, like I was saying, I think that this album, if it's not top 3, it's for sure top 5 greatest albums of all time. Hello motherfuckers, welcome back to my motherfucker channel. Today I'm going to be talking about my top 10 favorite albums of all time. My go-to albums, my albums that like can make me feel better if I'm down, or like, you guys know, you guys have those albums. And it's a perfect segue into the Prince's question of the day is, what is your... I was gonna ask what's your top 10 favorite albums, but I realized when I was doing this list that it's kind of hard. So I think I'll just ask you guys either top 3 or your favorite album of all time. I mean, that's probably even harder than top 10. But what's your favorite album or your top 3 favorite albums of all time? And I know it's gonna be hard, so if you want to do like 3, 2, and then 1, and then have a slash, and then there's like another one maybe that you guys might have, because I feel it on a spiritual level, because there's tons of albums that I love, but I picked the top 10 albums that like they're me, like I love these albums. So let's get into this. Before I start, please like and subscribe, and let's go. So some of these albums, somebody would have asked me even last year what my favorite albums were. These probably wouldn't have been in the list. So like I'm saying, some of these albums are new to the list. Some of these albums are older. Some of these albums are very much fresh and new. But I'm going to start from top 10 and go all the way to my number 1. My first one, number 10, is Anti by Rihanna. This album right here, I remember the second it dropped. It dropped for free on Tidal. Like, you could get a link and download the album for free. I was one of those people that got that link. And I just remember, like, probably like 3 days after that, just like, I did not stop playing this album. Like, this album really shook my wig up like that. I think Anti is one of the most perfectest, if that's a word, albums of all time. And literally like 2 weeks later, I got it at Walmart. And actually, I have it somewhere. Where is it? I swear I have this album. I just don't know where it's at. I'm looking over here because I have most of these albums that I'm going to be talking about. I actually have. I don't know if you guys can see that, but I have most of the albums. I don't know what happened to my Anti CD. It might be in my drawer in my room or something, but let's move on to the next one. Number 9, Miss Madonna, Snapped with Erotica. I love all Madonna's albums that I've heard and reacted to so far, and I don't think she has a bad album. But this album right here stood out to me, and it's really one of my favorite albums. Like, I feel it spiritually. It moved me spiritually. I'm a spiritual person, and I don't know, I just connect with that album in a weird way, and well, it's not weird, but I love it so fucking much. Like, again, all these albums that I'm about to name are perfect albums. Wouldn't touch, move, anything on these albums at all. The next one, number 8, is Bad by Michael Jackson. This album, again, another perfect album. Moved me spiritually. Once again, when an album can move you and like just make you feel some emotion, or even just some kind of like, oh wow, like shookness, I think that album deserves some recognition in your life. music is a big part of my life, and I think that listening to music sometimes can really like get you out of a bad mood, get you out of a bad mindset, you know. And this is one of those albums that, like, I have not listened, or I have not stopped listening to this album since I reacted to it. Yeah. The next song is Daydream by Miss Mariah Carey. I've been saying this ever since I like first heard that album. Like I said, this is going to be one of my favorite albums, literally, of all time. Like, I'm going to say that, and every time somebody asks me what's my favorite albums, Daydream will be at least in the top 10, because she snapped. Like, the vocals, the vibes, the tone, everything, the lyrics to that album were just like, this bitch is really relatable, and I fucking love that. And I love that she, like, grew, too. Like, I love watching her growth from her debut to Daydream. Now I'm on Butterfly to Caution. Like, I love the growth. It's everything. The next album, number 6, is Born This Way by Lady Gaga. And the reason I'm like, the albums are placed in certain spots is because I've heard these albums. I just recently heard these albums. I really didn't give them time to like set in. I did, but like not like these albums. Like I've heard these years ago, or not years ago. Like, well, I heard Born This Way last year, yeah, and I heard Anti in 2016, but that's at the top of the list. But what I'm saying is like, when these albums keep growing on me, they'll probably grow higher onto the list. So let's keep going. Born This Way by Lady Gaga. I think that whole entire album is just like pop perfection. I think it was what the state of pop music was in 2012, 2013, whenever that album dropped. 2011 maybe. Yeah, I think it was like 2011. It was the state that pop music was in, and I really think that she held the torch really strongly. And if I'm being honest, I think she lost that torch. Yeah, after Art Pop, I think she lost that, or before Art Pop, somewhere in there, she lost that torch of just a strong female pop queen. Like, I think she lost it, and it's sad, but hey. And I don't know, I just love that album. Every song in that album, again, is perfect. Like, I love this album. Let's keep going. The next album is In the Zone by Britney Spears. And again, this goes back to what I was saying about Lady Gaga. How she really was like just a strong female pop legend. Like, she was holding that torch strong during this era. And I think that era of pop music is definitely top 3 when it comes to pop music at all. Like, I think it goes the 80s, the early 2000s, and then the late 2000s, early 2010s. I think that's the top eras for pop music. And if that's not true to you, or if you don't feel that way, I am sorry. Like, you got Madonna, Britney Spears, Lady Gaga, 3 strong queens that like took their craft really seriously. And that's what I love about Britney Spears. Like, people always say things about her, how she's like, she can't sing or blah, 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 all this other bullshit. But she just like took that and like made it like, okay, bitch, I'm in the zone. Like, I love that album so like, I don't have that album, sadly. I will get it though. I'm gonna get all these albums that I'm talking about. The next album is, I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys probably have not heard this album, but Born Sinner by J. Cole. What can I say? I just remember being, how old was I? I was probably like 17 when I first discovered this album. I was probably like 15, maybe 6 or 15, maybe 14 when the album actually dropped. But I remember discovering this album and just like my eyes were open ever since that day. And I remember that day too. I was never the same person. Like I feel like, and I know this is a thing to say with J. Cole, that he like wakes people up. But I honestly think that that's a little bit true. Like before I listened to him, I didn't like the new genre, the new generation of rap music. But I wouldn't mind listening to it. Like, I didn't care if it was on or whatever. Now I just get so annoyed because I'm like, why would you choose to listen to somebody that doesn't even know what they're talking about and is drugged up on all these drugs, instead of this nigga who's like just basically creating a Bible for rap music? And it just blows my mind when people like will choose people like Playboy Cardi or Lil Uzi over J. Cole and Kendrick Lamar. What? Get it together. The next album is probably the most emotional album on this list, and it's probably like, I know you guys are probably gonna be like, oh my god, but it's 17 by XXXTentacion. Listen, we all have music that we listen to that other people just don't vibe with, or they're just like, what kind of music? But if you're a spiritual, emotional, kind of person and you have feelings, I think that you need to listen to this album. It's so almost heartbreaking how sad it is. It's like, I don't know. I love sad music, and it doesn't really make me any more sadder. Sometimes it does, but like, I really dig sad music, and this is probably the saddest album. There's one more sad album before I get to number one, but this is like, if I'm listening to this, I have to be strong because it's a sad album. Just every song in that album was crafted so perfectly, so genuine, so he really put his soul and raw talent and emotion into this album, like poured it out of his heart, and I felt it with every second of that album. But that could just be me. Number 2 is, I have this album, I think. Yes, ma'am. Adele, 21. Listen, this is an album that I don't want to say it's my most listened to album, because number 1 might be my most listened to album. But I do want to say that, like, I have heard this album at least 1,000 times. Like, I'm not even reaching. Like, I think I've heard this album multiple times, because I honestly truly think that this is the peak of soul mixed with pop music. I truly do. Adele has an emotion to her. She has something to her that just, she stands out from everybody else. And that's just facts. Like, this bitch, and a lot of people, and it boggles my mind. Again, like, how people will choose somebody that is on stage dancing and like, okay, yeah, you can dance, but can you move an entire crowd just by sitting on a stool and using your voice? Yeah, okay, there's some girls that can do that, but Adele is different. She has something that can stand her out from the rest of the girls in pop right now. But this album itself was so perfectly crafted. The song titles were just like the transitions to everything is just like, what? Who? What? let me just say this. I think this album is at least, if not top, sorry, like I was saying, I think that this album, if it's not top 3, it's for sure top 5 greatest albums of all time. And I'm sorry, but these are just facts. Like, even there's multiple websites that have said that this is the greatest album of all time. And I'm not saying that's my opinion. What I'm saying is everybody that is head over heels for this album, the experience they went through with this album, I've been through the same exact experience, and I feel every emotion that this bitch was singing out into her soul. Like, she can get pretty deep with her lyrics, and like, it's a beautiful, beautiful album. Let's just say that. The last one, I actually have this album. Thank you. Pink Friday by Nicki Minaj. Yes, let me just say that I can't go. Well, lately I haven't been listening to music as much, if I'm being honest, like I used to. It's just because I'm a lot more busier and stuff. But I'll say I can't go at, like, every time I listen to music, let me say that, every time I listen to music, there is at least 3 songs that I'm going to play off this album. This album crafted perfectly. Like, no bad song in this album whatsoever. The deluxe version, even better. Like, what? This bitch snapped with this album. And let me tell you why. There is a song in there called Here I Am. On the deluxe, I feel like Japan version maybe. But it's on Spotify and stuff now. There is a song called Catch Me, bitch. And let me tell you, I did not know about this song either when this album first came out. I knew about it, but I didn't really, because I was a Nicki fan, but like I wasn't a Nicki fan that would go to the store and get her albums. I wasn't a fan for nobody, because I wasn't really into music like that when this stuff came out. But let me tell you, a few years later when I got this on my iPod, I was just like, what? Why am I missing out on this kind of stuff? Like, I was beyond shook. I want to say, I feel like the spirit of female rap, or rap itself, because I think this is one of the greatest rap albums of all time. I think the spirit of rap was embodied into Nicki Minaj when she created this album, just because she has a soul in this album. Usually female rap albums are like, okay, that's a bop, whatever, you know. Oh, okay, she's spitting a little hard, but that's not the same thing with Nicki. She mixed a genre of soul with rap, pop, R&B, like all these different genres in one album, and it came from a bitch that's spitting this hard. That's why I think Nicki is the queen of rap. That's why I have so much respect for her. Just because she's so fucking versatile, and like, there's no other female rapper that can outdo that album. Let me make that clear. But I guess that's it. Like, these albums, like, you can see how much passion I have for each and every one of these albums. I love these albums. But I guess that's it. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Let me know your top 3 albums. Let me know your thoughts on what my albums are. And again, well, I didn't say this, but let me make this a statement. These are my opinions. This is my top 10. This is what makes me feel good. I want to know yours, so let me know. But I guess that's it. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Bye, motherfuckers.